What if the reason most startups fail has nothing to do with the idea or the funding, and everything to do with the system that they're forced to build inside? In this video, I'm going to break down the real bottleneck in startup creation, the invisible cost that eats your development time. Then I'll walk you through the 6-step factory pipeline that eliminates it entirely. And by the end of this video, you'll see exactly how a raw idea becomes a deployed revenue-generating product in just 28 days. If you're building with AI or thinking about starting something, join my school community, the AI Avengers, down below. If you want to work with me to learn how to build these systems or have them built for you, then book a discovery call with me down below. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Every year, the venture capital industry deploys hundreds of billions of dollars into startups, and every year, 90% of those startups die. The conventional wisdom says there are two things that a startup needs: a good idea and enough capital to bring it to life. If you have both, you have a shot. If you don't, you don't. But the framing is wrong, and it's always been wrong. And let me tell you why. So in 2024, global venture capital firms deployed $368 billion. So that number comes from KPMG's Venture Pulse report, $368 billion in a single year. And on top of that, the National Venture Capital Association reports another $308 billion in dry powder, which means capital that's been raised by VC funds and is sitting in accounts, waiting to be deployed, waiting for the right deal. $368 billion in play and more than $500 billion chasing startup investments. Capital is not the constraint. It hasn't been for a long time. And let's talk about ideas. So open any developer's notes app. You'll find 15, 20 product ideas that they've never touched. And I know this because I've seen it and I've worked with developers, and every engineer I've worked with has a backlog. And most engineers I've worked with have a backlog of things that they want to build but haven't. Go to any startup event, networking event. There's 100 ideas that get pitched in a day or two. Go to Product Hunt. Thousands of new concepts launch every month. Go to Reddit. Go to Indie Hackers. Go to any founder community. The world is drowning in ideas. Ideas are not scarce. Ideas are infinite. They've always been infinite. So if capital and ideas are abundant, what is actually scarce? It's execution. It's not the technical part. A competent team can create a functional MVP in 4 to 6 weeks. That's consistent across the industry. What's scarce is everything around the code. The median idea from time to shipped MVP is 3 to 4 months, and the actual development window is 4 to 6 weeks. So where does the rest go? It goes to hiring, it goes to onboarding, it goes to aligning on scope, architecture debates, waiting for decisions, context switching between Slack, Figma, Jira, and the actual code base, meetings about meetings, going back and forth, enterprise business. You have to talk to this person, you have to talk to that person, you have to talk to the fucking tooth fairy. And I call this the coordination tax, and it is the silent killer of startups. So let me quantify this, because the coordination tax isn't a metaphor, it's measurable. And the new stack asked developers how they actually spend their time. Just a third of a developer's working hour goes to writing new code or improving existing code. 32%, that's it. So 23% goes to meetings and management tasks, 19% goes to code maintenance, 12% in testing, and the rest to other operational work. You hire a developer to build your product. 2/3 of what you're paying them for isn't building, it's overhead. And if you're an engineer watching this, you already know this number is real. You feel it every week. So the problem, it's not you. The problem is the system you're operating inside. The meetings that could have just been a simple email or a Loom video or a voice note. The alignment sessions that could have been just a decision. The onboarding cycle that resets your team's context every time someone joins. You have to tell them this and that. You have to babysit them. You're not the bottleneck. The coordination layer around you is. So Microsoft research found that 60% of a worker's time is consumed by meetings, emails, chat, and context switching. Only 40% goes to actual individual focused work. 60%, so more than half of every working day is spent coordinating. And this is not a people's problem. Like I said, this is a systems architecture problem. We are running a multi-threaded operation on single-threaded human brains, and we are surprised when it bottlenecks. So there is a mathematical reason. So Fred Brooks described this in 1975 in the Mythical Man Month. So adding people to a late software project makes it later. So if there's 5 people on a team, there's 10 communication channels. And if there is 20 people in a team, there's 190. So each edge represents a communication channel. So these are all the different communication layers. So there are 190 different combinations of two-way conversations that can happen in a 20-person team. And this is calculated by this mathematical figure. But anyways, we are not talking about math in this video. But the point is, coordination overhead, it scales quadratically with the team size. You double the team, you quadruple the coordination burden. So code, it does not behave this way. Only human communication does. So Brooks, he wrote this 50 years ago. Microsoft confirmed the same pattern last year with modern data. We read it, we nod, and then we keep hiring more people and wondering why things are slower. CB Insights analyzed 431 VC-backed startups that shut down since 2023, not bootstrapped side projects. I'm talking about venture-backed companies. Together, they'd raised $17.5 billion. The median company died just 22 months after its last fundraise. They had money, they had teams, they had investors, and they still died. 70% listed ran out of capital as the cause, but that's the symptom. Dig deeper, and you can see that 43% had no product market fit. 29% cited bad timing. And when you look at the patterns, these archetypes emerge. So the first one is the overbuilt MVP. 6 months building a feature-rich product that nobody asked for. They optimized for completeness instead of speed to signal. By the time they launched, the market had moved on or their assumptions had expired. And the second problem is the distribution afterthought. So the product was good, but the team treated go-to-market as a phase that comes after the launch. It didn't. They built something nobody could find. And the third one is the coordination death spiral. The team grew, communication overhead exploded, velocity dropped, burn rate stayed the same, runway evaporated while the team was stuck in alignment meetings, not shipping. And every one of these patterns is a coordinated failure, not a talent failure. Money didn't save them, speed would have. So at this point, the obvious question is, if coordination is the problem, why hasn't someone eliminated it already? Why 2026? Why not 2020? Why not 2006? Why not 1996? So that is a fair question, and the answer is the stack wasn't ready. 3 years ago, AI could generate only a paragraph of code. It couldn't architect a system. It couldn't hold context across a full code base. It couldn't test its own output, and it definitely couldn't deploy. But that has changed, not gradually, structurally. So now that we have learned from history and we know these problems, we just have to proactively ensure that we do not make the same mistakes, while we also appreciate the technological advances associated with building a product. So the world has changed, the tech has changed, not gradually, structurally. So let me walk you through the 4 layers that makes this possible now. So the first layer is the foundation models. So like GPT 5.3, Claude Opus and Sonnet 4.6, Gemini 3 Pro. These aren't autocomplete engines. They are reasoning systems with close to 1 million, if not 1 million token context windows that can hold an entire code base in working memory, understand architectural dependencies, and generate production-grade code across multiple files and frameworks simultaneously. The jump from GPT-4 in 2023 to where we are today isn't incremental, it's categorical. And layer 2 is the code agents. So these aren't just simple code suggestion tools, they are autonomous software development agents. They can take a specification, break it into tasks, write the code, create the tests, and iterate on the failures. So the human just has to provide the idea and the architecture and what their desired end goal and result is like, and it will take care of it. And then there is the third layer, which is autonomous testing. So this includes self-healing CI/CD pipelines, and the agent doesn't just write code, it validates its own work. So this is the layer that was missing for years, and without it, AI-generated code was a liability. So you would have heard about the horror stories of vibe-coded AI apps that turned out to be a nightmare with the security and nightmare with the bugs and getting a lot of complaints. So AI vibe coding, it was just a hype for YouTube videos, but now vibe coding can produce a very amazing and also safe result. And with the autonomous testing layer, the code is verifiable at machine speed. And the fourth layer is orchestration. So this is the meta layer. the ability to coordinate multiple AI agents across a pipeline, design agents handing off to deploy agents with structured inputs, outputs, and quality gates between each stage. This is what turns individual AI capabilities into a system. Each of these layers existed in some primitive form 3 years ago. None of them were production ready. In 2026, all 4 are. And when you stack them together, you don't get a better tool, you get a different category. You get a factory. And that is exactly the why now. So now we understand the problem and why 2026 is the inflection point. The question is, what replaces the old model? To answer that, let me show you 2 systems. The first one is what we've all been taught. I call it the artisanal model, and I call it the industrial system, which I will show you later. So here's how it works. You have an idea, you quit your job, and you spend your nights and your weekends on your idea. You find a co-founder, if you're lucky, and you spend weeks aligning on your vision, your roles, and your equity splits. And then you start hiring over here. So you onboard new people in sales, in development, in programming, even if you don't really need them at that point. And then you start raising money so you can afford to keep going. And then you spend 4 to 6 months building, testing, iterating, and you launch, and you hope someone cares. You hope the market has moved. You hope that what you build is what people like. You hope your runway doesn't run out before you find the traction. You hope you still have the luck. And if it works, you're a genius. And if it doesn't, and 90% of the time it doesn't, you've burned probably over 6 figures in funding and 6 to 12 months of your life. You can see why this is so chaotic and goes all over the place. And that's exactly why there needs to be a shift in venture creation. So I'll show you the better model, the industrial model. So the industrial model is very simple. It's made up of 3 phases. So phase 1 is validation. So days 1 to 7, the idea is validated. It enters a validation engine, community scoring, market signal analysis, competitive mapping. It's based on real data, not opinions. And it's not based on your gut feeling or the gut feeling of your co-founders or your developers. And here's what matters. If the idea fails validation, it dies here, quickly, cheaply, before anyone writes a line of code. So when an idea fails validation, you just lose maximum 1 week of your time. And that's certainly better than wasting 6 months of your time and also $100,000. And then comes phase 2, which is the building phase. So this is day 8 to 21. And by the way, the days can be longer. So it could be days 8 to 28. It could be days 8 to 90. So it can be a fixed 14-day sprint, fixed 30-day sprint, fixed 60-day, 90-day sprint, whatever. It goes into a building phase. So the AI agents build the architecture, write the code, run the automated tests, and are prepared for deployment. So it can be possible for the AI agents to build the whole thing from scratch with little human intervention, but there's always a human in the loop to verify the outputs and to check the machines are well oiled. And this is also when the developers add their own flavor to it, add their own color, add their own unique features and unique touch. It's going to cut out all the wasted time, and the systematic execution against a validated idea will be happening in the build phase. And then there is phase 3, which is the distribution. So this is day 22 to 28. This is where the most startups die quickly. And it's not because the product was bad, but it's because nobody ever saw it. So think about it. No matter how amazing your product is, if nobody knows about it, then it's not going to be sold. Simple as that. In the artisanal model, distribution is an afterthought. It's just something that you think about once you have finished building it. You build a product, you launch it, and then you start thinking about how to get it in front of people. So you write a blog post, you write LinkedIn posts, you submit your product to Product Hunt. You send cold emails, you pay for organic traffic. There's no system, there's no engine, there's just hope. Whereas in the industrial model, distribution is the third engine in this process. It's engineered before the product goes live, not after. So here's what that means in practice. So the onboarding flow is the exact sequence a new user goes through from the first click to the first value moment. It's designed and tested during the build sprint, not after the launch. Payment infrastructure like Stripe integration, pricing tiers, trial logic, upgrade paths is deployed as part of the product, not patched in later. And channel activation, which is the specific acquisition channels the product will use to reach its first 500 users, is mapped during validation and activated on day 22. That means the time the product is live, users are already being routed to it. There's no gaps between shipped and growing. It's built in, not bolted on. So it just takes 28 days minimum, idea to revenue. It's not an idea to MVP. It's not idea to beta, idea to revenue. In 1913, building a car was an artisanal process. So a team of craftsmen, they worked on a single vehicle from start to finish. It took over 12 hours to assemble one Model T. And then Henry Ford came along. He introduced the moving assembly line over here. So he broke the assembly line into 84 discrete steps. Each worker specialized in one task. The car moved to the worker instead of the worker moving to the car. And the production time, they dropped from over 12 hours to 93 minutes. Not by making better craftsmen, but by building a better system. So this 80% time saving was achieved not by making better craftsmen, but by building a better system. He invented a better process for building cars. And then within a decade, the Model T, it went from $850 to $260. And the automobile went from a luxury for the rich to a tool for the middle class. The output didn't change, the system changed. And the system, it changed everything. So let's look at the economics and the numbers. The artisanal path, $300,000 to $500,000, and it takes 6 months, a full team of 3 to 10 hires, and if that fails, it's a write-off. On the other hand, there's fixed cost, 28 days or a fixed number of days, so there are strict deadlines, but 28 days is the minimum. And then there are 0 hires, maybe 1, maybe 2. You only hire what you really need. You don't hire a big team because you think it will become a next billion-dollar company. You just hire the people that you need to make it possible. Or if you're a solopreneur, which is now possible, then you make 0 hires. And if the idea fails, you cut your losses and you move on from day 7 before the build even starts. So the cost of failure, it drops exponentially. So let me take you inside the machine. So I am starting this entire production factory for building apps and SaaS products. So it's going to be called Planet AI. And how Planet AI runs is through a 6-engine pipeline over here. So each engine has a defined input, a defined output, and a quality gate forward until the gate is passed. There's engine 1, the idea engine. So a raw concept, it enters the system. It's treated as a hypothesis, like a science experiment. So here is the idea engine, and here's how the community validation works. So this is not a public vote. It's not asking random people to vote if you will like it or not. It's not a DAO. It's a curated panel of domain relevant operators, people who built, sold, or invested in the specific vertical. So it is scored based on these 4 pillars here. So the demand, the willingness to pay, the risk, and the community signal. So the demand is self-explanatory. So it is the level of demand in the market. If the market is starving to solve this problem, if this problem is a big issue and they want it solved immediately, they want it solved as fast as possible. Demand is the first pillar. The second pillar is the willingness to pay. So even if there is demand, if there is no money in it, if they lack the buying power to solve this problem, and if they are not willing to pay to solve this problem, then it is pointless. Then it does not matter. Then you will not have a profitable venture. So this is the second pillar to assess on. And the third one is the risk. So this is self-explanatory too. So what you can potentially lose, the potential cost, the potential downsides, and the potential consequences if this does not work out, because we do want to balance the potential reward with the potential risk. And then the fourth one is the community signal. So this is votes from the community determine the sentiment of this specific idea and if it's going to be able to solve the specific problem that the idea is proposing to solve. So this is slightly different from demand because community signal is about input from the experts, whereas demand is from the target market. Competitive gap analysis and technical feasibility. So if the aggregate score clears a defined threshold, the idea advances. And if it doesn't, you get a kill signal with the documented reasoning. It's not a vague no, it's a structured rejection you can learn from and apply to the next idea. So you understand why this idea was rejected, and then you can find a bigger, better gap in the market that you can solve, and then you put this idea back into the idea engine. So this is a factory's first and most important job, filtering, saying no early and before capital and time are wasted. So once you have assessed all of those, there will be a score assigned to the idea out of 100. So if it scores 80 or above, then it goes to fast track. This is what we want to focus on. Then this is an idea that's very likely going to succeed and have high demand for. And we just want to go to market as soon as possible. Speed is the most important thing in business. If there's something that comes up, you do it as fast as possible, because speed of execution always beats a great idea with slow execution time. If it's over 80, fast track, build it as soon as possible, put your energy and focus on it. If it's 65 to 79, then we approve it. Then we can start working on it, but also take more care in working on it. Do some adjustments if it's necessary to maximize the value of it. If it's 45 to 64, then we put it on hold and we do some more validation. We try to tweak it a bit more to be more desirable. Or if we determine that it's not a really validated idea, then we can scrap it if it's hold. And if it's under 45, then it's a kill signal. Then the idea is not validated. So it's better to cut our losses and move on. And engine 2 is the design engine. So the validated idea translates into user flow, data models, wireframes, and API connections. This is an AI agent generating design artifacts in hours, structured against the spec, with human review at the gate. And the third one here is the build engine. So this is where most startups spend 80% of their time and budget in the factory. It's a 14-day sprint, or it could be longer, but 14-day minimum. And then the design spec is decomposed into discrete parallel tasks. So multiple AI agents, they work simultaneously. Automated testing validates each module as it's built. When the module integrates, a quality gate reviews the full output. And now let me address the obvious question. What about quality? Which is a fair concern. AI-generated code has a reputation of being fragile, poorly structured, and having security issues and crashing in production. 2 years ago, that reputation was earned because it was true. But now, with the advancement of AI, especially in the coding ability, the stack has changed. So every module that fits the build engine passes through automated test coverage, end-to-end validation, and the quality gate is not just a rubber stamp. If coverage thresholds are not met, the module cycles back. So, if the architectural patterns are inconsistent, the module cycles back. The system is designed to reject its own output when the output isn't good enough. And I'll be honest about the trade-off. So, the pipeline, it produces software that's optimized for speed to signal. It's built to validate a market, generate more revenue data, and to prove a business case. It's not building a banking core. It's not building mission-critical avionics. It's building the fastest, most reliable path from hypothesis to market evidence. And the code quality is sufficient and validated for that purpose. And even if you have doubts, there is always the human layer to verify and validate each output deployment engine. So this is a part that used to take dedicated DevOps engineers weeks to configure. Server provisioning, environment setup, CI/CD pipeline configuration, SSL certificates, DNS routing, database migration, monitoring dashboards, alerting rules, log aggregation. Every one of these used to be a separate task assigned to a separate person, tracked in a separate ticket. In the factory, it's automated end-to-end. The build engine outputs production-ready code. So the deploy engine takes the output, provisions the infrastructure. Every future update, it deploys automatically, sets up the monitoring, so you're alerted the moment something breaks, and it also runs a final health check to confirm the product is live, stable, and performing within acceptable thresholds. So this minimizes the need to hire engineers. There's no infrastructure ticket sitting in a queue for 3 days. There's no inefficient deployment meetings going back and forth, whether multiple people debate whether it's safe to push to production on a Friday. So the system deploys when the quality gate passes. So it goes into production in just weeks, whereas it would have taken months otherwise. Engine number 5 is the distribution engine. And this is an engine that separates a factory from a dev shop. Because most startups, they do not die from bad code. They die from obscurity. They build something, they ship it, and then they open a blank Google Doc titled Growth Strategy, and they stare at it. In the artisanal model, distribution is a phase that starts after the launch. You finish the product, you post it on Product Hunt, you write a LinkedIn announcement, you send some cold emails, and you wait. There is no system, there is no engine, there's a to-do list, so there is no strategy or plan here, except for hoping that what you do works. However, in the factory, distribution is engineered into the pipeline from day one. So here's what happens between day 22 and day 28. So first, there is the onboarding. So the exact user journey from the landing page to the sign up to the first value moment. It's designed and built during the build sprint. It funnels the users into becoming customers, not after the launch, not as a version 2 improvement. It ships with the product and ready to go on the first day. Because if a user lands on your product and landing page and doesn't see the value within the first 5 seconds, you've lost them. Think about it. When you go onto another website, how long do you spend on it? Like the average person, they spend 5 seconds looking at a website and deciding whether they're going to stay or whether they are going to leave. And it's the same for your product landing page. So it has to be engineered to capture their attention in the first 5 seconds. And after that, it has to be engineered to funnel them into becoming a paid client. And that path has to be engineered. It's not improvised. And the second is a payment infrastructure. So Stripe integration, pricing tiers, free trial logic, upgrade triggers, cancellation flows. These are all features that you should be adding from day one, not in month 2 when you figure out the monetization. So they're deployed on day 1. If you can't capture revenue from your first user from the first day, you're not validating a business. You're just running a demo, and an expensive demo. Third is channel activation. So during validation, back in day 1 to 7, the system identifies which acquisition channels have the highest signal for this specific product. Content, outbound, marketplace listing, integration partnership, paid acquisition. So whatever the data says. So that's going to help you decide whether you're going to post on LinkedIn, whether you're going to post on blogs and SEO, or you're going to post on Instagram, whether you're going to do YouTube, or you're going to do all of it. It's all planned from day 1. So on day 22, when the channel goes live, the users start arriving on the same day of the launch. There is no gap between shipped and growing. That gap is where startups to go die, and this engine eliminates it because speed is everything in the game of business, especially in the digital world where AI is moving so fast. So in engine 6 is the capital engine. So this is the engine most founders don't even think about until they are 3 weeks away from running out of money. And by then, it's a panic exercise. You're pulling numbers from Stripe, screenshots from Google Analytics, building a pitch deck at midnight, and hoping metrics tell a story that an investor will believe and hope that they fund you. But in the factory, capital readiness is automated from the moment the product goes live. So here's what the capital engine does. So first, it connects to the live product's data layer, and it continuously packages the traction metrics into investor-ready formats. So revenue, not projections, actual revenue from real transactions. It's based on real data. And then there is the engagement phase. So daily active users, session depth, feature adoption rate. And then there is the retention. So these show whether users come back after day 1, day 7, day 30, day 90, and unit economics. So customer acquisition cost, lifetime value, payback period. It's all calculated from real data and not spreadsheet assumptions. And this is a lot of data, and data is gold, as you know. And the output is a living data room. So it's not a static pitch deck you update once a quarter. It's updated in real time, a real-time view of the business that's structured for the next conversation, whether that's a pre-seed raise, a strategic partnership, or an acquisition offer. So this means the founder never has to stop building to start fundraising. The data room is always current. You always see the latest updated data. The metrics are always packaged. When an investor asks, send me your numbers, the answer isn't give me 2 weeks or let me find my documents. The answer is here's your link. So let's look at what's missing from this pipeline. There's little to no hiring, onboarding, Slack channels, alignment meetings, sprint planning, stand-ups, and no context switching. The coordination text is almost zero, if not zero. And looking at the founder's job, in the artisanal model, the founder is inside the machine. He's doing everything. He is hiring, managing, and reviewing code, debugging, and pitching. So he is the gears in the own machine that he built. However, in the industrial model, the founder is above the machine. He is defining the thesis. He is setting quality gates. He is reviewing the outputs, governing the system. And because the cycle is fixed at 28 days, 90 days, 180 days, the founder, he does not bet everything on one product. They run a portfolio. So, for example, he has 5 ideas in the pipeline. 3 are built, 2 are generating revenue, 1 is killed on day 7 because the data set's a portfolio operator, not a project manager. And that is a fundamentally different job, and it's a better. You can think of it as the difference between a property manager who manages rental properties and the property investor who owns and invests in several properties that generate cash flow for him month to month without him doing any manual work. So that is a fundamentally different job. And of course, it's the best one. Enough of me talking about Planet AI, enough of me talking about startups. I want to actually show you what me and my team have been working on behind the scenes for the past month. So this is Planet AI. So Planet AI is a factory for software. We aim to go from idea to revenue in 28 days. So like I said, ideas are infinite and capital is abundant. What's scarce is execution, and we are automating that. We are helping you bring your idea to life and go to market with it. First, I'll go over the landing page. So validate in 7 days, build in 14 days, ship in 28 days. So this is the factory here. So here are the 5 engines. So validation, we first validate the idea across the 4 dimensions. And then the humans, they provide the capital, the taste, the governance, the uniqueness to it, the human touch. And the factory, it handles the execution. So it is a promotion. It's not a demotion. And also the AI agent pipeline. So there are 5 autonomous agents that operate in the pipeline. So product, design, engineering, growth, and capital floor. They are the ones that do the building behind the scenes with some human supervision, if not zero. And then there is the programmable capital. So the 5th AI agent is the program. So the products they ship with validated data, it's not based on idea that you think works or you think will work well. It's going to be based on real data and metrics. And every product, every data, every product we build, every data that we collect, it becomes a flywheel. We become owners of data. And with that data, we build more products, we ship more products, and our data becomes our unique strength. So it's 28 days and 4 stages. So submit your idea, validate in the first week, build in the next 2 weeks, and then we go to market with it. And Planet AI will also serve as a marketplace for apps. So this is where you can not only see the apps that we have built and deployed, but it's also where you can advertise your own SaaS product onto Planet AI. This is where you can drive traffic to your app, get more users, acquire feedback, acquire data, and we will also support you with your client acquisition and the lead generation for your software. So we help with distribution too. And if you're interested in distribution with Planet AI, then book a call with me down below. I'd be happy to talk and see what you have built and see if I can help you in any way. So this is the Planet Marketplace. And it's not just the eBay where you can just buy and sell apps. It's going to be like an investment platform as well. So when you look on the marketplace and you see different software, if you see something that you are interested in, you are able to invest in it. You are able to fund and invest your own capital, or you can also request funding for your software. And if somebody is interested in buying it, or if you want to exit, you can do this here as well. We will be facilitating the buying and selling of apps and also the funding of apps as well. And here are the FAQs. So I'm not going to go over this. Planet AI. So we do have a waitlist open. So if you want to become one of the validators or the community members of Planet AI, then fill in the form down below and I look forward to seeing your name on there. But anyways, I'll show you a quick demo of how the idea engine works. So I'll go on to submit your idea here. So here is the idea intake form, all 10 steps in the idea intake form. So this is where I submit my idea. So let's just come up with a quick example. Let's go with app to connect dogs with dog walkers. So this will be an app where people who like dogs, they can connect with busy dog owners who don't have time to walk their dog. So yeah, let's just go with this. Continue. And what problems does it solve? Okay. Dog owners don't have time to walk their dogs and want to hire people for walking their dog. And people who love dogs want to walk a dog and spend time with dogs. Okay, and then let's click on continue. How does your product solve it? Connecting dog owners with people who like dogs and want to walk them in their spare time. Continue. Who is this for? Who has this problem today? So busy dog owners. which market sector. And you can select it here. So health and fitness, finance, education. So I'm not sure exactly which category I can like classify it as. So let's just select health and fitness. It's not really, well, it kind of is health and fitness because you get to walk and you also improve your mental health by hanging out with dogs, and you know, everybody likes dogs. So let's click continue. And product architecture. So determine the base template for the build engine. So we can select SaaS, marketplace, API, platform, e-commerce, edtech, fintech, health tech, all of these. So let's just select community. Why is now the right time? More people are owning dogs, cats, and pets. People are busier than ever, working more hours. People love their pets, but cannot make time for their essential needs. So they want to delegate this task, like how some people hire maids for the housework. Okay, and then continue. The competitive gap, not many in the market, weak marketing, relatively unknown and untapped market. I may be wrong on this, but this is what I'll write for now. Continue, and then one-liner. Okay, so you could, if you're unsure of this, so I'll just click on skip protocol for now, and then market size, so 100 million to 1 billion. I'll just take a guess, this amount, and then continue, and then I will write, I want to expand from just connecting dog owners with dog walkers, expand to more services related to dogs, like dog food, dog events, dog communities. So I can add more notes here if I like, and then I just click on finalize submission. And then once I receive that, me and my team, we will work on the idea, and then we will provide you our outcome and the next steps. So first, let me be direct about what this is and what it isn't. Planet is not for people who can't code. It's not a crutch. If anything, it requires more technical understanding, not less, because you need to set quality gates, evaluate the architectural decision, and understand what the engines are producing. This is infrastructure. So for people who have more ideas than time, people who understand the bottleneck, their ability to write software. The bottleneck was a system where they were forced to operate inside. And if you're an engineer, this is important. Your role doesn't disappear, it changes, and honestly, it gets more interesting. In the industrial model, engineers become quality gate architects. You're the one defining what good enough means for each engine. You're designing the test framework. You're reviewing the system's output, not debugging someone else's code at 2 in the morning. That's a better job. That's the job most engineers wanted to do when they got in the field. They do not want to be manually coding. They do not want to be manually debugging. They want to understand what they are building, what they are doing, and set the architecture and let it build itself. So this doesn't replace founders, it promotes them. So in the artisanal era, grinders are rewarded. So people who could endure the coordination tasks longer than everyone else. People who could survive on 4 hours of sleep, manage 6 direct reports, review pull requests, take investor calls, debug a production issue all before lunch. We celebrated this, we call it hustle, but we know it all leads to burnout. It was waste. Talented people burning their energy on logistics instead of strategy, on coordination instead of creation. This inevitably leads to burnout. The industrial rewards a different skill set. So it's not grinding, it's thinking, the ability to identify real problems and structure real solutions, validate real markets, set quality standards, and hold systems accountable for meeting them. And leadership skills, of course. And let me be clear about the boundaries. So this pipeline, it doesn't apply to everything. If you're building in a heavily regulated industry where compliance requires 18 months of auditing before you ship, this isn't your path. If your product requires custom hardware, if your sales cycle is 12 months of enterprise procurement, if you're building something that requires 2 years of R&D before a prototype is even possible, this is built for software products in market where speed to signal determines who wins. The question isn't, can we eventually build this? The question is, can we prove this market exists before the window closes? So the question used to be, can I build this? Do I have the team, the capital, the runway? Though the gates are open, the question that remains is simpler and harder. The question is, should this be built? Is there a real market, a real customer, a real problem worth solving at this scale? This has always been a question, but this remains more important than ever. And if the answer is yes, the factory can handle the rest. And if the answer is no, the factory tells you that too. So on day 7, not month 6, not after you've burnt your savings and your co-founder relationships and 2 rounds of investor goodwill, on day 7, you get a kill signal. You move on. You submit the next idea. That is a shift. It's not a tool. It's not a service. It's not a dev shop with AI bolted on. It's a venture foundry and an infrastructure for building companies at an industrial scale. Planet AI, 28 days, idea to revenue. So if you want to be a part of this community that scores and validates the next wave of products, our waitlist is open and you can apply below. We are building the Planet AI Factory. The question is whether you want to operate. If you want to work with us to not only learn building with AI and Claude Code and also build together in public, then join our community, the AI Avengers, down below. If you want to work with me directly one-on-one to either learn these skills or you want an AI system built for your business specifically, then book a discovery call with me down below. That was it for the video. I look forward to seeing your name on the waitlist and I'll see you in the next one.